The Boston Celtics survive a scare in Game 1 of the Eastern Conference Final as they win in overtime over the Indiana Pacers, and there is a lot to go over from this game. But I think the biggest standpoint to me, the thing that stood out the most from a Celtics standpoint, and we will start with the Celtics here, was how good Jaylen Brown was. And I will admit, I don't view the Jays, Brown and Tatum, as 1A, 1B. I view Boston as Tatum and everyone else. And the everyone else is very, very good, but I do kind of put Brown in there. Now, he is a step above White, Holiday, Horford, and those guys, but I still don't view him on the same level as Tatum. But he was excellent. He stepped up on both ends of the floor in this game. And if Boston is ever going to have to move that contract to try to make things a little bit more tenable there from a salary cap standpoint or from a team building standpoint, this is going to be the type of game that they point to me and say, like, he can be worth this sort of money. Offensively, he stepped up. Obviously, the big three late. But even leading up to it, he made some strong plays defensively as well, which I do really think is a bit more of his bread and butter. He was a real leader in this game for the Celtics. And we'll talk about Tatum in a second, but there was, I think, a pretty clear focus on trying to not have Tatum beat them in Game 1. And I think Jaylen Brown really made them pay. And when he is going in that way, this is just such a difficult team to really stop. Like his presence as an elite player, and I do think elite player is in the range for him. I don't think he consistently gets to that high level, and so that's why you can't put him in there on a, like, just categorize him as an elite player in general, but he has elite player tendencies, let's say. And if he can turn into that elite player in this series, there's just no beating these guys. So Jaylen Brown was massive in Game 1. And Tatum came up big when they needed it. I believe I saw 11 points in overtime. And like I said before, there was clearly a focus on him to kind of slow him down a little bit, and they turned him into a bit more of a jump shooter, and that is not his strength. I heard Bill Simmons talking about this a few weeks ago, where I don't know if Tatum is as good of a three-point shooter as Tatum thinks he's as a three-point shooter. He is much more effective when he is driving, getting to the rim, using that size and athleticism advantage that he has on almost anyone that is guarding him, and being able to attack that way, and he is good enough that he can hit threes when the situation calls for it and when he is left wide freaking open. But this was not the dominant Tatum game that we have seen in playoffs past, but this was, I still think, a strong game for Jason Tatum. And the other part of this one that I think was really important was Drew Holiday was really big. Sorry, I have a cat with me. Say hi, Shiloh. Hi, Shiloh. Anyway, Drew Holiday I thought really showed in this game why the Pacers got him. He comes up with some key defensive plays. They put him on Siakam at times, or he ends up on Siakam at times, I should say, and he's able to hold his own defensively, and offensively he put up some pretty big numbers in this game as well. And when he is going like that, this team is just really tough to beat. But they're also tough to beat when you beat yourselves. And that is something that the Indiana Pacers struggled with in this game. And this really was, and they talked about it after, this was the difference between a team that has been to 6 of the last 8 Eastern Conference Finals and a team that hasn't been to any in the last 10 years. So you could really see the experience, and you could really see the moment kind of get to the Indiana Pacers here with some brutal turnovers late, some difficult decisions that didn't necessarily go their way. They really showed their inexperience in this game. And this is going to feel really disappointing, I think, for them, because I feel like this was probably their best chance. It is much like the J.R. Smith dribbling the ball out when the game is tied and the LeBron meme, because he knew how big of a chance that was for the Cavs in that series against Golden State. Then the Warriors come out and just beat the hell out of them. That kind of feels like it here, where the Pacers are, I think, so clearly the second best team in this series and needing kind of all the help they can get. And they played really, really good basketball for about 45 minutes of this game, and then it just all falls apart. But that's the frustration. They needed this one. This is basically now they're going to have to beat Boston 5 times, and most people don't think they can beat them twice. So I just feel like this is a gigantic missed opportunity for the Pacers. And you can say, like, look, they showed up, and they did. We'll talk about that in a second. They played a hell of a basketball game, but their inability to close is really going to haunt them, because I just don't think they get this many good looks at the Boston Celtics going forward. But again, they showed up. Halliburton was tremendous. Whatever leg, foot problems he had in the midway part of the season that I think did kind of hobble him down the stretch, they are gone now. This is a player that is showing why he should be one of the top in the league, why he should be going to the Olympics this summer, representing the United States. He is a real star in this league, and I thought in this game, again, for about 45 minutes, he was the leader that they needed him to be. Some of the mistakes aside, they still had a chance in a tie game to go out and win this one. They had the ball with 5.7 seconds left. I hated that last possession where it looked like he was ready to just dribble up weight, ISO 3, and then he's like, oh, I should kind of go. Oh, it's kind of blocked off for me to go, and then it was too late. And it's really frustrating because the Pacers, when they are going, they have such great ball movement, and every team in the league does this, where, all right, we've moved the ball really well, we scored 117 points, everything's great offensively, so let's change everything we do and put it all in one guy's hands in an ISO. This team thrives on ball movement and creating chaos for the defense, and it's tough to do that in 5 seconds, but it's not impossible to do that. You can at least have one, probably 2 passes in that time and create a good look. All they needed to do was get that ball going toward the rim, and they just didn't do it. So that was really frustrating. But the other piece that I thought stepped up here for the Pacers was Miles Turner. And we talked about him as an X factor in this series in the preview show yesterday. He was on fire, especially in that first half, and he is a real matchup problem for the Celtics. His ability to stretch the floor is a real weapon. His ability to attack, he's not like Tatum or LeBron or any of those guys when he's getting downhill. He's not going to beat you off the dribble, but you can set up some plays for him where he can really attack from the outside in. And Boston just doesn't really have anyone who can really limit him in that way. And so I do think that he is going to have his say in a few more of these games. But overall, the Pacers have nothing to feel overly upset about with how they played, but bigger picture, this feels like a real big missed opportunity, and the survival instincts of the Boston Celtics take over in this one.